Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome. Happy Saturday for ya. We have an edition of the Pocket Change Market Report for your Saturday morning / afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well, and hopefully you guys are going to be out there doing the ground and pound to look for some of these errors and varieties that we're about to talk about today. Now, did you guys check out that thumbnail? Yeah, I want you guys to be very aware of a very, very specific error. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, but I have alluded to these particular errors as being the current kings of the secondary market right now. And just in the last 24 hours, we had, count them, 9 of these particular errors that sold, all in pretty quick back-to-back succession. And I don't know if this is some sort of targeted buyout or maybe a new collector has come onto the scene to pick up a number of these pieces. I guarantee you that not all of them went to the same collector. I mean, obviously, that would be silly. But yeah, adding one more collector into the mix that has a few $100s to spare to pick up a number of these coins is equally important to the market. As it is just the regular folks picking up some of these coins. Because with the new collector, some of those, I don't know, I guess pieces that these other big collectors own currently in their collection, will sometimes stay stagnant on an eBay store. But I can tell you that just in the last day, I haven't even gone back to the last 3 or 4 or 5 days. Well, I have on my last PCMR, but yeah, we might be seeing kind of like this this new targeted buyout for a lot of this particular error that we're going to talk about today. Aside from that, if you guys are first timers here onto the Pocket Change Market Report, we take a look at the last 24 to 48 hours of eBay sold activity for any error or variety that you could speak of that is attributed correctly. Okay, that's the key word, because not a lot of these errors are being attributed correctly. Sometimes a lot of these coins are not errors or varieties at all, and you have to be absolutely cautious at what you're, number one, buying, but number two, modeling your store after. You want to make sure that you're modeling with, some of the people that really know what they're talking about. And second of all the coins on this particular slide are ungraded. It would be silly sometimes to pay the expensive price to authenticate these through a PCGS or NGC. Don't need to invest money in that. The coins will certainly sell themselves. And the coins that you see here are all original images from those listings. So you're going to see coins with a little bit of focus issues, some that are a little bit dark, some that are a little bit too light. We're going to get a little bit of photography lesson as we go, but I'll point those out as we hit those coins. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in and see what gems people are finding out there. And maybe there's a little bit of inspiration for you guys to do a little hunting of your own. I know a lot of folks have said that they appreciate these videos, less about the market and what they sell for, but more so of the potential of what you can find, because people do add these pieces to their collections. Much like this 1890 Carson City Morgan dollar. So hold the phone. I know you guys are going to say, well, this is a Carson City. They're all pretty expensive. But when they get to be around this condition with a lot of issues, it looks like there's some sort of like varnish or some sort of staining on the obverse of the coin. You can see on the reverse the irregularity of the edge of the coin toward the bottom there. There was some damage on this coin. It's not the perfect example, but this is going to be an example that you could find out there for about $50, in this condition. But this is a well-known VAM variety. This is VAM number 4. This is what they call the tail bar, which is simply just a pretty sizable die gouge that connects the tail feather / arrow little area to the wreath. Okay, so you can see that pass through. That's how it got its namesake. This is indeed a top 100 variety. But these are going to be some of the things, if you're really into these coins, you're going to want to, check these out. Make sure you're looking for them. A lot of Morgans, in hindsight, are VAM varieties, but there's gonna be coins that are on a the elite list, the hot list, the top 100, things like that. Those are the target coins you want to look for because they're the most desirable in the marketplace. This picture also shows another thing that also you guys need to know about. This coin right here exhibits some pretty good scratches on there, okay? These are going to be coins that, again, you don't want to ever grade because they're going to come back details graded with scratches. So, to help out your cause, to help out with the sale, just go ahead and sell it as it is. Make yourself a little bit of money in the process. This coin ended up selling for $129.23 with 25 bids. There's quite a bit of activity. People wanted this coin. The tail bar is quite expensive in much higher grades. Sells for many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in mint state grades. And given that it's an 1890 cc, that really doesn't help the cause any when you're looking for a mint state example. There's just too many things going on here that really raises the bar for these top 100 Morgan varieties. So make sure you're looking at all your scrap silver, your low ball pieces that you paid next to nothing for, and see if you can find yourself things like this. This is a really neat variety, and one that will continuously sell for a good amount of money in the future. The next coin that we have here is going to be a 1990p Jefferson nickel. Now, this particular error, because the coin looks a lot bigger than it actually is what they call a broad strike error. All right, a broad strike occurs when the coin, during the striking process, is missing the actual collar. The collar holds the coin in during the strike. The collar is yet another die in this multi-piece functionality of a mint press. So the collar, if it's a quarter, the collar will have the little reeded lines in there that'll stamp the reeds to the edge of the quarter. A nickel doesn't have any reeding on the side. So this one right here, the metal flow has to go somewhere when the collar isn't fully engaged. So it's like pressing your thumb into a ball of Play-Doh. All that material goes outwards, and that's kind of like what we have experienced here in this coin. Now, this example, probably nothing that you would honestly say can be found in pocket change or going through coin rolls. I have found a few broad strikes, but this one is quite sizable, as you can see in this side-by-side comparison from the seller. The coin is considerably bigger. All right, so seeing this one in a roll, we'll probably stick the paper a little bit where something's up. Or these were commonly found in mint sewn bags when they were released back in 1990. This coin right here sold for $28.80. Always a popular error to collect. And these generally, even the more modern dates, sell for a pretty good premium. Our first paper money of the list is going to be this beauty right here, a 1969 $1 bill. All right, so you see some noticeable what they call gutters. There was actually a few wrinkles in the sheet before the note was even printed. It never got stretched out during the first, third, or second print, which is the reverse print. So by the time the note makes its way out into circulation, someone can theoretically stretch out that wrinkle, and then you would have a noticeable gutter where the ink never touched the paper. Condition-wise, you can see that there's a few kind of like red crayon marks or whatever that is embedded into the paper. You can't get rid of that. This particular note right here, pretty good. Sold for $83.50 with 16 bits. Now, talk about a coin that is quite modest at first glance. It doesn't look like anything special, all right? This is actually a very common error occurrence on these 1950s wheat cents, which, to this day is still something to find in penny boxes. Or if you're an avid hunter of these wheat cent bags that I personally like to go through, this is another great coin to look out for. So this is a 1955S Lincoln wheat cent. You can see the wheat cent back on this one. Upon closer examination, the seller sold this one on the premise of a die chip in the 9. All right, so you see that little raised dot there that filled in that top curl of the 9. Yeah, that's really what sold this one, and that's, you know, this close-up image of the date is ultimately what saved the sale from selling for anything less than it did right now. This one right here sold for $9, guys, with 10 bits. A very, very presentable coin. Again, 3 images in this particular listing. A full obverse, a full reverse, and a close-up of the part of the coin that really matters to a buyer. So, great job with the seller with the images. They're not like the highest quality. You know, these are pictures you could take with a standard iPhone or a Samsung product really easily, because there are apps for magnifying your photos, and those are great help. Certainly use that. But $9, I would sell these all day long for $5 to $10, and I have like literal stacks of these. You know, this is going to be one of those coins that, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that expensive, but at the end of the day, they do all add up. The next one that we have here is one of my favorite type of coins that you could find today in modern U.S. coinage, and that's going to be this 2021. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, we're going back 20 years already? No, this is a 2021 Philadelphia Jefferson nickel with rotated dies. So this one here has about a 50 to 55 degree rotated die reverse. What I like most about this, and usually I'm not really a fan of taking photos of coins in 2x2 holders because they show an unfair representation of what the coin looks like naturally, but it works here. Okay, using the staples as kind of like a guide when you're taking these photos are paramount in showing an error that's really hard to photograph unless you're good with like mirrors and stuff. This one right here, surprisingly, sells for a good amount of money, $37.83 with 14 bits. Guys, these things are out there. They're quite plentiful, and if you're not flipping your coins over to see if you have these rotated dies, I don't know what else to tell you. This is like free, easy tendies right here. These coins sell for anywhere from like $30 to $80 depending on date. And you're going to see them a lot on 2020, 21s, and 22s. Brand new coins out there, guys. The next one that we have here is another fantastic find in today's coins. A 2022 Lincoln Shield set with some pretty spectacular, strong die clashing. You can see that here on the front and back area of Mr. Lincoln. You can see Pluribus Unum quite strongly clashed onto the other set of die. And yeah, this is another strong one here, and another just perennial hot seller in the market today. This one sold for $31 with 7 bids. Clash dies. Collecting is a very, very deep niche in error coins, and if you do come across these, congratulations, you have come across a little mini gold mine. I would certainly find as many as I can while these are still in really nice shape. Now, the first less than stellar looking photo is a little bit out of focus, and a little bit on the dark side, I suppose. The lighting just isn't quite right on this one. However, what is right is going to be the cut die break that you see over the word "we" and "trust." And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the error right here. Not specifically on just 1983 Jefferson nickels, but cut die breaks have been huge in the last day or so. Again, these are the errors that are being bought up. And when I say cuds are kings, I really do mean it. These have the most consistent pricing. You're never going to find one generally that sells for under $20 in any condition. This one right here, as you can see, has a little dirt and grime embedded in the details of the coins, but that's okay. I will gladly take the $47.93 sold for this example with 5 bids. I would say that's a really good trade. And again, there are people that are collecting all the progressions of these cuds, and it's a very deep pool of collectors that want these. The next one we have here might be a coin that you could find in a wheat cent bag. I've found a number of these over the years, and they are a fun find when you come across it. But any date of Lincoln wheat cent that is struck off center is a pretty good find. This is just so happens to be a well-circulated 1944. It was never found in mint state condition, which is quite relevant considering that this one had passed through many hands. But this one right here is off center by about 10%, somewhere around there. How about a $40 bill for this one? That's how much it's sold for. Check your silver, check your silver, check your silver. This is a coin that I have found a few of, and it's been brought to my attention off of the last few sales of these type of errors that, yeah, I should really consider listing mine. This one right here is a 1964D Washington quarter that was struck on a defective planchet. You can see it's got that cracked planchet there. Pretty cool. I mean, these do show up on just about every denomination of early silver, ranging from dimes. I found a few dimes with these cracked planchets and fissures and ragged clips, all the way up to dollar coins. I sold a piece dollar about 6 months ago for $100 that I had pulled out of just a good old silver melt bin at a local coin shop, and paid $30 for it, sold it for a $100 bill. So yeah, proof is certainly there that these particular kind of like less than spectacular errors are worth quite a bit of money. This one right here sold for $63 with 16 bids, representing a nearly 10x profit on melt value on something like this. Again, look through your silver. You will probably surprise yourself with what you can find in there. Now, much like the 44 that we had just looked at, we have a 1940 Lincoln wheat cent. This one is off center, again, about 10%. Coin is very well circulated, so this again proving, and people have said, well, you can't find these in circulation. Why are you even posting these? Well, look at the coin's friggin' condition, and that'll tell the whole story in itself. This thing has passed through many hands. It's not quite a beater, but at the same time, it's not a gem. This one is sold for $51 with 2 bids, so it was a wham bam, 2-person kind of like auction battle. $51 is a really good fair price for this one. Our next paper money listing has to be this 1950. Was that B? I think it's a B series there, $10 bill. Yeah, it's a little bit older note, but these are anomalies that you can find even on some more recent notes of today, specifically on dollar bills. But this one has a grossly misaligned third print. The areas in question are the district seals, the serial numbers. They're all canted to the up and right on this one. The serial numbers are overlapping some of the design elements, which it's not supposed to do. There's a little bit of a back condition look there. It's circulated a little bit. This one sold for $116.38 with 26 bids. All right, so we had a number of coins that were all sold by the same seller. I would venture to guess that it was one person, probably a new collector of cut die breaks, that had entered into the market and picked up some of these free, easy sales here. All best offer accepted listings. How about a Bicentennial $half? This is actually a Denver minted example, but if you guys check out the reverse there, above the word America, you can see that thin cut die break that actually goes into the design a little bit. So it is a full-fledged cut as opposed to just a rim cut. This one eventually sold for $24. Which is not too bad considering the size of the cut. While not huge, it does have value. But Bicentennial coins with cuts on them are quite scarce. So $24 is a really good price for this one. And from the same seller, we also have a 1983 P. This one also, I'm willing to bet, is overshadowed and overlooked by a lot of folks based off of its condition. It's not, again, the condition's not going to blow you away where it's going to be like, hey, look at me. But this one right here has a pretty nice sized cut right here above the word United. Okay, so make sure you're looking out for this one as well. This one sold for $30. And here's a 43 steel cent. Again, not the wildest, greatest condition coin. And when they get to be this kind of condition for a steel cent, there's going to be the masses that will overlook, like varieties and errors and things like that. Especially the ones that are a little bit more oxidized than this. But yeah, check that out. Another right-sized cud here at the base of Lincoln's bust. A little bit different shape than what we've seen in the past. But still, $43 sale for this one. Another big winner by the same seller. And then we also have a 1936 Lincoln. Again, you can see the cud die break there at the base of Lincoln's bust. But also notate some of that weakness on the corresponding area on the reverse. That's important to identify when you're going through these. Again, another fantastic example of this cud. A nice early date as well. Sold for $41. And then finally, from the same seller, we have a 1945. This is probably the least greatest looking example that you will find, but this one has a pretty good sized cud here as well. Probably more of a retained cud because you still have a little bit of some of the devices that are showing through on that piece. Excuse me, but again, condition sometimes does not matter. This one is pretty well worn and loved. This coin right here eventually sold for $26. So all 5 examples that you just witnessed were all bought up within moments of each other. So I would assume that they all went to one collector. All right, so that's a pretty good sale. Ended up making about $150 when the dust is settled. So that's, again, cuds are being scooped up at a rapid rate these days. And we're going to see a few more examples here in this PCMR. All right, so this one's pretty neat. So, there's obvious strike-through of some sort on the obverse, and you'll note that it does not have a readable date. So that's really the only knock against it, but other than that, this is just a great-looking example of an indent. All right, so there was another coin or scrap that was overlapped on this one as the strike was being pushed through, and this is what eventually it looks like when everything's all done. You have a pretty sizable indent in there. This one sold for $77, ladies and gentlemen, with 32 bids. Not too shabby. Now, this is a cool one. I've seen probably 1 or 2 other examples like this. And some of you will probably say, well, that has to be shenanigans right there. That has to be like a manufactured error. No, it's not, okay? I want you to note the reverse of that area where there's no copper, all right? And those scrapes. Take a look at the reverse. See the weakness? This was a pre-mint type of, planchet that had issues. Maybe it was a tapered planchet that didn't quite receive all of the copper coating on there. But during the strike, you could tell that particular area there where you see the scrape lines, or what appears to be scrape lines, is actually a much thinner area of the coin because it produced a weakness on that same area on the reverse. Just put 2 and 2 together, kind of manufacture the process in your head, and you'll understand how these things happen. Call this, I guess, a defective planchet, which you don't see very much in the Zinken world. This one is especially neat, but this is a really good sale as well. $39.95 is what this one hammered at, or was picked up at. I think this was a buy it now listing. This is one of my favorite varieties here. Good luck finding them. They're quite tough. So it's a 1980 Lincoln Memorial cent, and you'll notice that the coin does exhibit a few carbon spots. It's okay, though, because there aren't too many of these in mint-state condition, and even the carbon spots will not detract some buyers from getting what they need. This one right here is a doubled die. This is FS 101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. You can see the substantial doubling in both the date, and you can also see it on Liberty as well. This is one of those dates of Lincoln's in the Cherry Picker's Guide that eludes a lot of people. It's a date that is not heavily favored as being searchable because there's just so many 1980 Lincolns in rough condition that people generally give up trying to look for this variety. So this one right here is a solid $150 sale. I would imagine that without the carbon spotting, this one would probably push 200. So I don't know if you guys see it. There's a little bit of a die marker above the 0. This little die gouge or whatever this is. I believe that's a die gouge. It looks raised on there. And that's something to look out for. I had one of these, sold it probably about 6 years ago, and I shouldn't have. Because they're worth a whole lot more money today. $150. That's a good amount of money. All right, well, laminations, they are still a thing. And yeah, this one right here, 1936, not the greatest condition example that you'll find, but you do notice quite a bit of lamination on the obverse there, right on Liberty's jacket and behind its head. A lot of retained pieces there, which is relevant for this. This sold for $13.03 with 8 bids. Again, laminations, small or large, has a little bit of value, or they could have a lot. Again, it really depends on grade and the size of the lamination. All right, we got a $20 bill for you guys. This is a 1977 series example here. It's a very nice, crispy looking example, but as we could tell, looking at the front of the note, there's not a lot that'll really, the third print, yeah, it's just a tinge misaligned, but again, that's probably well within tolerances for the BEP. Well, let's see what's on the back. Oh yeah, misaligned back print. The sheet was a little bit canted and twisted a little, or rotated during the print of the reverse stuff. So yeah, you can see that pretty easily here. You even have a little tiny sliver of the second or the next corresponding note on the sheet peeking through there at the bottom. But pretty cool. Always flip those notes over. You never know when you're going to find a misalignment on any of the prints. This one right here sold for $95.39 with 16 bids. Just a really attractive looking note, and that's a pretty good sale at that. Again, not the wildest looking coin. 1961 Lincoln Memorial has a pretty good curved clip on there. Yeah, pretty well circulated. This really didn't draw anyone's collective eye until, a real hardcore treasure hunter ended up finding it. But what do we have here? $9.06 coin. And that's with 9 bids. So there were a number of people that did bid on to have this one. People do collect these by date. So, it is a little bit tougher date than what I've seen for these clips. Oh boy, now speaking of tough, this is a little bit newer, new obverse designed Jefferson nickel, 2007 Denver out of all mints. This is a nickel with 3 clips, a really big sized one and then 2 other smaller sized examples. This one sold for $53.45. This is a spectacular example. But yeah, this is a good one. I like it. Oh boy, we got more cuds. Who would have thought? 1981 this time. Again, it's not going to really, stick out like a sore thumb unless you were really looking for it. Yeah, check out that cud. One of the bigger sized ones that you would see at the base of Lincoln's bust. And you do have a little bit of that weakness on the reverse as well. So where did this one eventually sell at? $47.94 with 3 bids. Collectively, that is a superb sale for this one. I've seen this particular cud before. A lot of these are on cudsoncoins.com if you haven't checked it out or bookmarked it onto your smartphone device. This is actually a lifesaver, and a lot of these are attributed in there. But if you come across one that's not on Cuds on Coins' website, that might be something you could attribute and put your name into it. It'll cement you in history, guys. Again, another way that you can take advantage of this fun hobby. Oh boy, this thing is especially nasty. Now, I know who sold this one. A good old resident error expert, Joe Cronin, who had been having lots of success selling his book, U.S. Mint Errors to Die For, by the way. It is a great book. He sells out of them as quickly as he could get them printed. But yeah, this is his coin. This is his sale right here. 1970D Jefferson nickel. This one has a really, really large cut on the obverse, and you have plenty of weakness on that same spot on the reverse. A beautiful higher grade example. This is what we strive to look for when we're going through our coins. Keep in mind, this is a Denver. All right. So West Coast hunters getting plenty of love on this list today. This one sold for $184.50 with 18 bids. Holy shimolians, people. This is a great sale. And yeah, have I mentioned that cuds are kings? Yeah, you guys will get tired of it, but as long as it's etched in your mind and you come across these while you're doing your hunts, you'll understand the allure. These things are equally impressive. It doesn't matter what size they are when they are in your hand, as opposed to looking at them in a photograph or on eBay. There's just something about these particular errors that has more distinct satisfaction when they are in your hand, physical. All right, so we have a couple more pieces of paper currency. This is a good-looking one right here. This is a 1988 $1 bill with some insufficient inking on the first print. You can see that right there on the note. Everything else, though, is Jim Dandy. All right, are we still using that expression in 2022? I doubt it, but, you know, okay, it's dope. This note's dope. There you go. This one right here sold for $60.88 with 17 bids. Oh yeah, we got more cuds. How about another 83p? 83 is one of the more common dates of cuds, okay? So keep that in mind when you're hunting around, that this is kind of like a target date. But look at all coins. Flip the coins over. You know, make sure you go through them with a fine-tooth comb. You can see the cut die break there right on the crown of Jefferson's noggin piece. And this one is sold for $62. Jeez. These used to be $20, $30 coins all day long. This one obviously showing its circulation for sure, but $62, man, that's a really good amount of money for this. Now this is a superb variety sold by Tropical Bats on eBay. Not the literal Tropical Bats, but a seller by the name Tropical Bats. 1959D Repunched mintmark. This is the D over D over D. All right, so it's got 3 individual Denver mint punchings, and 2 of them were not in the right place. You know, well, yeah, well, they're in the right place for a seller like Tropical Bats. Yeah, good looking coin here. This is also FS501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. This one sold for $25.50 with 10 bids. Hey, look at that, another 1983 P. This looks a lot like the example that we saw earlier in the show, but on a much higher condition example. I would say that this one's probably mid-state. It has lots of step detail on Monticello. This one right here sold for $50.56 with 7 bids. Another good-looking coin right here. This is a 1962D Lincoln Memorial cent that was split after it was struck. All right, so the back part of it split right on its edge completely. It was probably a clamshell, but yeah, it had fallen off a long time ago. And it's probably half the size of what it was, or thickness of what it was when it was first struck. This one sold for $39.10 with 14 bids. A few more coins left. How about this one here? This is cool. I know 2016 Lincoln Shield cents has been kind of like a just date that's full of errors to look for. You know, from the shattered die coins that I've seen for this date, along with a few double dies that exist as well. How about this one right here? This is an example that was struck through grease and debris and all sorts of other stuff. You can see that there on the obverse. While not a good-looking coin aesthetically, this one right here is a pretty notable error. And they're not all going to look the same. That's the cool, unique part about this. This coin right here, $50. $50. Can you imagine a day where you just like pull a coin right out of your pocket change as the Starbucks employee gives it to you and say, yeah, that's a $50 coin right there. Yeah, that's the possibilities. You know, it could help pay for some of your gas, you know, before you commute for the week. Just look at the possibilities. Error in variety hunting is truly magnificent, and it's very, very satisfying. You guys ought to try it. Here's a 1920 Buffalo nickel. Now, the coin is in decent shape. It's probably about a VF 2025. It does exhibit a little bit of that woody, kind of like improper alloy mix tone to it. The reverse, not exactly the greatest looking side of the coin, but the seller did mention that there was some pretty good machine doubling on this, which is neither an error or a variety, but the seller used machine doubling as in the title or the listing title to sell this coin, and you know, it did sell for $29.95. This is probably a coin in this condition that was probably picked up around $5. That's like the value of a VF 2025 1920 Buffalo nickel. It's just a really good kind of like album filler piece aside from that, but it does have some extra kind of personality with the machine doubling and the woody wood grain toning, I guess. And we're going to, of course, end it up here with another dollar bill. This is the final one of the PCMR 1988A $1 bill. You can see that it's got some soiling, which indicates circulation wear. Go figure. Yeah, nothing really to see here on the front, but when we flip this bad boy over, yeah, we have a pretty good front to back wet ink transfer. So the impression cylinder, much like a Clash die, had a little bit of ink on there because, you know, the the printing process is that it does need a sheet for the, you know, the impression cylinder to move and make contact with the printing plates. So when that's the case, yeah, you're going to get some leftover design transfer onto the impression cylinder. So when the next sheet's fed in, it's going to print that whatever residual ink is on there onto the back or front of the note. Spectacular. I love ending it on this you know, type of error. Sold for $79.95. A very, very desired error. While not the strongest wet ink transfer, it is a complete 100% transfer. And who doesn't love that kind of error on a piece of currency? That's going to go ahead and do it, guys, for this one. Wow, what a list. Lots of cuds. So, yeah, that's the word of the week. Cuds. Cuds. Chew on your cud, and, you know, you can make yourself a lot of money. We featured many hundreds of dollars in cuds on this edition of the PCMR, but that's only because people were buying them left and right. And you could certainly add your name to the list if you wanted to. They are being pursued. Yes. Could there be new collectors coming in the marketplace? I would only imagine that that's probably the case. You know, yeah, there's still quite a few of them out there, and I don't know how long that'll last. At the price levels, these things may be underpriced a little bit, but they're still solid sellers. Sell a few of them, become a legend in the hobby. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoy today's video content, make sure that if you need it, you have a magnifier. You can't do any of this hunting without one. I do have some available in my Amazon links down below in the description box. I do get paid a small little commission for selling those items, but they are there, and you can pick one of those magnifiers up for under $10. They're cheap. So, yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it. You guys take care. Best of luck in your hunts this weekend. And I'll see you on the next coin video. So long, guys.